Welcome to our weekly Governance Voice. This is a program brought to you courtesy of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, powered by Bafunde. I am your host, Obare. This morning, we are going to feature women in governance, especially women movers who have had their journeys and they want to share their experiences with us, and also the moments that they cannot have a time to breathe. With us in studio this morning, we are privileged to have Professor Patricia Kamerimbote, who is a senior counsel and also a professor of law at the University of Nairobi. And without much ado, I want to welcome you, Professor. And once again, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yes.
I think I want to begin off by just looking at part of the things I want to call you are a lady of many firsts. I begin off by saying you are the first lady professor of law. You're the first lady dean, University of Nairobi. You're the first lady to earn a higher doctorate. You have been appointed recently now to be director of Law Division, UNEP. Many publications in terms of books. You've done many journal articles, book chapters. Just to understand, how can somebody have all this in one? What inspires you to be, where you are today?
I'll say that I didn't set out to be a woman of many firsts. I didn't go out wanting to be number one. I was just doing what I'm passionate about. And when I went out as a career person, I wanted to be a lawyer. And in being a lawyer, I then grew in love with research, and that led me to teaching law. And I would say that the firsts that I have earned have been really doing what I love to do. So it's been a labor of love. It's not been a labor of scoring number one. It's been doing what I really like to do. And then getting me the first, which is really not my ultimate. My ultimate is to enjoy what I do.
Okay. Most of us will envy to also be called terms like professor. What does it take to be a professor?
It is, becoming a professor is not for the timid. You have to have the skin of a rhinoceros, because people are going to distract you. If I tell you that from joining the university to becoming a professor, it took me 21 years.
Wow.
To becoming a full professor.
Okay. Because
I started in 1990, January. And after many political and other gymnastics, I was actually hired. I have the dubious distinction of having been the first person to be hired as an assistant lecturer with a master's in law. And after being hired as an assistant lecturer, I then grew into the lecturer, into the senior lecturer, into the associate professor, and then full professor. And I'll tell you that between those stages, there was quite a lot of drama, because in the academy, there are very vicious fights. And somebody says that there is somebody who's written that people quarrel about things that really don't matter here or there, but you can be held down from being promoted. Say you're chair of department, things you're going to threaten them if they promote you. So they don't advertise even when you're ready. Like between lecturer and senior lecturer, I was there for from actually 1991 to 2002. A good 11 years. Yeah.
All right.
And it's not because I wasn't qualified. It's just because people sort of thought you're running. Yeah.
Right. Out of excitement around the new appointment as the director of Law Division at UNEP, what is it all about? Does it entail? And what challenge, are you looking at there?
The director of the Law Division at UNEP oversees the law work of UNEP. UNEP, of course, is the global environmental body. So there are quite a number of multilateral environmental agreements which UNEP is mandated to look into. And also there's international environmental law, national environmental law, because UNEP is a state membership body. So looking at both growing international law and implementing global agreements on environmental law, helping nations also to come up with their own environmental laws. For me, the challenge is really to bring the academy and research that I have done into practice at the international level. I think for many lawyers, we do our practice of law at the national level. Some do it at the regional level. But going to the international level, for me, that's a challenge I relish. I can see that it's going to be a steep climb. Right. Because it is a new environment, but I am actually rolling my sleeves, ready for the challenge.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll just look at, one of the things you've put as your philosophy. It's a long one, but I just want to read because it looks quite inspiring. Mm-hmm. You're saying that you live, you learn, and you leave an enduring legacy in life. Mm-hmm. You also say further that paths are made by walking. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could tell us what informs this kind of a philosophy and what that means in your life as well.
You see, to live, learn, and then leave a legacy has to be what we are about. Because you see, life isn't just about spending every day. From the time I woke up today, I would challenge myself, what is it that I have learned? Mm-hmm. And where did I have an opportunity to make a difference? Did I make the difference? Some days offer you more opportunity to make a difference, others less. But at the end of the day, and this also relates to what I was saying, that I didn't set out to be fast. It is in doing what you like and in setting your mind out to apply yourself to it, so that as you live your life, you learn. And as you learn, you put indelible footprints in the sands of time. The second thing, I think I have two statements that I live by. The one you're talking about, paths are made by walking. Mm-hmm. It's been disputed whether the first person who put it out is Franz Kafka or a guy called Antonio Machado. But both of them capture the essence of paths are made by walking. And I think it is Machado who says, traveler, there is no path. They are only the footprints you make as you walk. And so paths are made by walking. Because if nobody is walking, there'll be no path. And sometimes you're walking through a forest, and the forest has undergrowth. There is no path at all. I mean, life can be a forest. And I would say, like when I was growing up, I didn't know any professors of law. So I have made the path by walking, and I hope, having made the path by walking, there are others who can take the path. But I challenge everybody to just see their footprints as the only path there is, mm-hmm. and then that is the path. There is no road. Yeah.
So do you have routines in your life?
I have many routines. I wake up very early and I sleep early.
All right.
So I journal. I am a firm believer. I believe in God, and so I spend a lot of time in reflection. Mm-hmm. So quiet time early morning is one of the things that I relish. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, and this came because of having sometimes busy jobs, I realized that if you weren't deliberate about reading, you could actually go out, like since I got out of my house, I can't read now. But I make sure that I put in at least an hour to an hour and a half of reading before I leave the house, which would then mean that you wake up early to put in your quiet time and do everything else that you need to do, but read for the 1 to 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that you've always also spoken about very much is about gender mainstreaming, issues of sometimes destabilizing status quo. And probably you can share with us your journey in that kind of a thing. And most importantly, are there any disadvantages or advantages of gender being a woman yourself?
You know, for me, the work in gender was not something that I set out again to get into. It is by living, then you realize that being a woman is different from being a man, even if you're doing the same job. And especially teaching at university. So I started teaching in the days when women did not get house allowance, did not get houses, even though men got the same. Their spouses were not covered for medical. And also, there were many things that being a woman, there were handicaps in being a woman. And these were resolved later. But sometimes you begin seeing that the more things change, the more they stay the same. So, for instance, I work in the area of land and environment. And I think those are areas where women's rights are still not as entrenched as they should be. And so, for me, gender mainstreaming is in a day's work. But having said that, I think because of the fact that people see gender work as confrontational work. So you have men thinking, oh, these women are asking for too much. And the women thinking that it's we who should have, not men. For me, because I teach a course called Equality, I think it is about balance in society, ensuring that men contribute and women contribute. And what I am now seeing in many, many sectors, if you're not looking at politics, we will have a situation where we have a lopsided situation where there are more women. And we will not have a way of redressing it because we've looked at equality too much on politics, where men are really the reigning kings. So the refusal to put in the 2/3 gender rule, just pegging it to politics, is going to deny men opportunities in other areas where women get in and the men are underrepresented. Because at the end of the day, what you want is a balanced society. You don't want any gender to be lording it over the other. So if you hold it in one space, and especially in law, where the law does not allow for balancing, then when there is imbalance, then people begin talking about the boy child. But that is really a making of the very negative masculinity that has been pushed. So when women move ahead, then there are people who fall through the cracks, and there is no way of lifting up those people. Yeah.
Interesting analogy. And maybe, you know, you've had very many firsts, you've had really successes. But if you were to be told to celebrate a few of these accomplishments, which one would you point at as a trailblazer?
I think, you see, like for me, I've grown up as an academic and as a lawyer, as a mother and a wife. I think I got married very early, even though I have taught for 6 months more than I have been married. I've done many of the things I've done as a married woman. And I think that being a mother, a wife, are two things also that are really, I mean, having a context as family where you're able to work with people. You know, it is Professor Kaimenyi who used to talk about success that is contributed to by many people. So you can never really say that your success is yours alone. It is the children who are with you when you're doing your PhD, your spouse, your mother, your father, your brothers, and your sisters. Yeah, it is contributed to by very many people. So you can't say it's yours alone.
All right.
It's the village. Yeah.
You've spoken about being many things, a mother, this. How do you also balance to ensure that nothing within that ecosystem falls off?
I think being a teacher enables one to balance. Because, with COVID-19 now, people talk about working from home.
Mm-hmm.
But for an academic, working from home is not new. Because if I'm not in class, I could actually be working from home. And you can do a lot, which means that you can marry your roles as a mother in the house and do your other things in the house whilst you're still doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, because all you need to do is to segregate the times for that work. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
You've given part of your journey in terms of some bit of difficulties. It may be posed to you that what are those kind of moments you can say your can't breathe moments?
There are very many. You see, like when I say that rising up the academic ladder, when you're held down for many years in one grade, it takes time not to let that kind of thing define you. Because you see, you can see that people come and they are put on the list for promotion quickly, but for you, there are a particular set of rules. But now when I look at it, I think all those were for good, because they enabled me to begin taking life, knowing that what comes your way is really a blessing and a gift.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been very many I can't breathe. Being held down. The other moment, I think, is when you work for institutions and then colleagues accuse you of things that they know they're lying. There is a poem by Rudyard Kipling, which is titled If. And for the longest time, I kept saying, if you can sit and have people twist things about you and still have faith in the world, then you're growing. Because you see, those kinds of things can also make you very angry and bitter. So when they're going on, and then, the worst thing is when you know that there are people who know the truth, but they stand by. They don't offer the truth. And so you're left to defend yourself for things really you have no business defending yourself on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But when you then later look at it, you're like, it's good it happened, because it also enabled you to know humans are limited. I know that Kipchoge says no human is limited,
Yes.
But humans have very many limitations, because when you're being accused, you would think that people who know the truth would actually bring out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have as one person to defend yourself, when whatever is being said is untrue, but secondly, it is benefiting an institution, and you did it not to benefit personally, but you were doing your work in the institution, but nobody with the truth comes up, then you know that humans are limited and you should never trust them too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Which then also leads to another question about, you've also appeared quite in some very high-level job interviews.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your experience?
When I go to
media,
interviews,
yes.
I like to enjoy them.
Okay.
I think the two high-level interview jobs you'll be talking about, one I appeared for the CIC, the Committee for Implementation of the Constitution. I was interviewed.
Yeah.
That was way in 2012. But those days they didn't beam them on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I appeared for the interview of Vice Chancellor. That again was not on TV. But I also appeared for the interview for Chief Justice. But I go with a view of enjoying myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I keep saying is, when you go for an interview, you're not necessarily going because that is, you think you should really get that job. You allow for, if I get it, I'm going to give it my best. But if I don't get it,
Mm-hmm.
it is not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I have enjoyed the interviews, the rigor that it puts you through, because many times we play too safe. You know, because when you go out there, many people shy away because they think about the publicity, the questions you will be asked. But when now thinking about it, I think that is a good thing because it enables you get a 360-degree analysis of self. And then, you know, you never know how you will behave when people throw mud at you. And so when people throw mud at you and you watch the clip, and you know, when somebody even asks you, do you ever get annoyed? And you're like, you know, I didn't know that about myself, that I can actually take quite a lot and not be rattled.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So looking at your journey as finished down is that your learnings and your lessons and your experiences, probably you could share a few of those, generally, the ups and downs, and we see how we can learn from that.
You see, I have learned, and I think somebody has written this, I've learned to always go the extra mile because that place is never crowded. People do the bare minimum. So going the extra mile, you're likely to find an uncrowded field. I have also learned that it is important for you to set goals for yourself. Not goals dependent on others, but your own goals. And to run your own race in your own lane. So I have learned that competition is not a good thing in life. And that when you do what you love to do and do it at your very best, even if you score an E, because you put in the best that you could, then you know that is your best and you have satisfaction. I've learned not to have too great expectations of people because many times disappointments in people is because of what expectations you have of them. And it goes back to what I was saying, that humans are limited. So just know that like I can let people down, people can also let me down. So that shouldn't define my view of human beings because there will be other people who come in. Because you see, many times when you're disappointed, you want to say, I will never do this with people again because they will let you down. I've also learned that it's very important to mentor people, to have a mentor for myself. And you know, having a mentor for myself is not a person who will teach me to be a professor. It's a person who will teach me how to do life. Having older women speak into my life, I have learned that that is invaluable. And you know, you learn in the most unusual spaces, like having a cup of tea. One of my mentors likes to go to a place with me. We buy one plate of chips and we share. And you know, in the sharing of the plate of chips, we are able to talk uninhibited. I have also learned that it's very important to mentor younger people. And one of the things that I think I've been blessed to do is to have very many people who I have mentored. And I always seek to have a staircase of mentees. Because I know once people are mentored, they'll move on. But then you don't want that learning to just end there. So I'll have one and another staircase and another staircase. And I'll challenge the people I mentor and ask them who is growing at your feet. Yeah. And I've also learned networks are very important. And they are not the networks of the tenderpreneur kind. You know, people who will put in a good word for you. I have many, many very good friends, young and old. And those networks are worth more than silver or gold. because I know that there are places where things will be decided about me where I'm not. And, having somebody who will say that we know CS Obare and we can put our money on them, or we can put what they say they will do, that is invaluable. So your network being your word. And when you are not able to meet your obligations, owning up to not being able to do it because you set yourself free. So those are things I've learned.
Amazing. So I just want to take you back. If you were to talk to Mbote at 21 years old, what would you speak? What would you tell yourself?
I would, I think, tell her to let her hair down. I was a very serious young girl. And basically, I'd tell her, let your hair down. I would probably not do things that I didn't do, but I'd tell her to enjoy life, Just, when you say enjoy life in this day and age, there is a concept of enjoying life, but it is a question of putting in as much learning in life as you can. Because you see, when you go on to study law, I should probably also have sneaked into the philosophy class. And then maybe being more adventurous, I'd tell the younger person that you need to learn a little bit outside of law.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Prof, I'd like you to face that particular camera and really talk to younger girls, younger women who are aspiring, who are trying to, set about their life and their future in terms, and those who also sometimes say that when they grow up, they want to be like you. Give them that message of inspiration based on your life and your journey, Professor.
I think it's very easy to say when I grow up, I want to be like X. But if you were told what kinds of obstacles they've had to surmount, you'll probably say, no, I really would rather the easier path. Live your life, run your race on your lane, and don't try too hard to please people especially. Always be true to yourself and do what you really love. Do it with passion. And if you're doing what you love and you do it with passion, you will actually find that you have arrived faster than you think you will. I always think about the late Nobel laureate, Wangari Maathai. I hung around her a lot. In fact, on the day that they said that she had got her Nobel Prize, I have a picture of myself taking mandazi and tea with her at a conference. And I always think, when I think of Wangari, I don't think the Nobel Prize was what moved her. She did what she loved. If we went to a place where there were trees, she had no qualms just getting into the soil and planting the tree or tending the tree. So if you do what you like, these other things come as trinkets, but they are not really the ones that define you. So do your own self at your pace and with passion, and everything else I think will come your way.
Prof, you said how many have you taught?
I probably have taught more than 6,000 lawyers.
6,000?
Yes.
So when you walk in the market, you stand strong.
Yeah, these days I have no private life because you see, my children sometimes ask me, is it true you taught that one? Because, somebody comes and says, you are my teacher. Yeah, I've been teaching a long time.
Wow. Amazing one.
And I will continue to teach. Yeah,
even
I
when
love
you are in the
teaching.
new place?
No, I won't teach while there, but I will come back, and use my learning to teach.
All right.
Yeah.
That was Professor Patricia Kameri-Mbote, Professor of Law at the University of Nairobi. Very, very knowledgeable, and she shared a great journey about the women in governance. We look forward to learning very many things from her as she goes, and wish her well, of course, as she goes and comes back to the academic. That was the weekly governance voice brought to you, courtesy of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, powered by Bafunde. I am your host, Obare Nyaega. Until next week, see you.